Marvel Comics long-form storytelling nowadays is dominated by major crossovers that draw in every corner of the universe to focus on one specific plot. Now, Marvel has had crossovers for forever. Fantastic Four number 12 guest starred the Hulk way back in 1962, but these new crossovers largely follow the same formula. The main story is told in a miniseries named after the crossover, while other ongoing series have tie-in issues that relate to the main story. Sometimes there are even other miniseries that tie into the main crossover, but I don't think those are necessary for a crossover to qualify as a major modern crossover. As an example of what I'm talking about, let's look at 2019's War of the Realms. The main action of the story takes place entirely within the 6-issue miniseries War of the Realms. These 6 issues tell the entire story, as long as you know the characters. But lots of other ongoing series have issues dedicated to the crossover, like Thor 12 through 14, which makes sense given the crossover is about Thor, but Venom 13 through 15 and Unbeatable Squirrel Girl 43 through 46 are connected to War of the Realms as well. Contrast this against 2020's X of Swords crossover, which takes place across a variety of X-Men ongoing series, having 1 or 2 issues in each. While there are some one-shots specific to this crossover, they don't tell the whole story, as you instead have to read the ongoing series for that. This makes this structurally similar to Marvel's older classic crossovers, where characters would just pop up in each other's series for a shared storyline. Marvel's modern crossover started to become prevalent in the early 2000s with 2005's House of M, and there has been one nearly every year since. But what is the first of these modern crossovers? How modern are they? If a story being told in its own miniseries is the main feature of a modern crossover, then our search begins in 1982 with Marvel's first miniseries. But if the stipulation is that the story just has to be in its own series, then you could argue that Marvel's first modern crossover is actually its original Avengers ongoing series. Almost every Avenger had their own ongoing series at the time of its creation, and the Avengers occasionally popped up in each other's books, like that time Captain America guest starred in Iron Man's story in Tales of Suspense number 58. However, the storylines in Avengers didn't really affect the solo series, and the solo series only occasionally interacted with the Avengers stories. So while Avengers is technically a direct crossover book, it feels more like its own separate thing as opposed to Marvel's first modern crossover. So back to 1982. Marvel's first ever miniseries was actually a crossover, Contest of Champions, where a bunch of heroes were forced to fight each other for the amusement of cosmic entities. However, it had no tie-in, so it doesn't count. Marvel's next big crossover miniseries was the original Secret Wars, running for 12 issues from 1984 to 1985. It's basically just a souped-up contest of champions with more heroes, more villains, and even stronger cosmic entities. Technically, this crossover had some quote-unquote tie-ins with the ongoings, but it pretty much just consisted of a few panels at the end of one issue where the characters are abducted to where Secret Wars takes place. Sometimes they'll have changed from Secret Wars when they return in their next issue, released about the same time as Secret Wars 2, like with Spider-Man getting his black suit, but these feel less like tie-ins and more like consequences of the crossover. They all take place before and after Secret Wars, not during it, so they don't count. What does count, though, is the next major crossover, 1985 Secret Wars 2. You see, Secret Wars was so big that they made a second one the next year. But this time, instead of a big brawl, the cosmic entity, the Beyonder, comes to Earth to learn what it's like to live as a mortal. While the main story is told in the Secret Wars 2 miniseries, plenty of characters interacted with the Beyonder in their own ongoing series as well, and these issues are even branded as tie-ins with a little triangle on the corner of the cover. So that's Marvel's first modern crossover, the much maligned Secret Wars 2. What a legacy. Interestingly, this isn't the formula that Marvel used going forwards, probably in part because of the event's poor reception. Instead, their big events like Mutant Massacre, Evolutionary War, and Inferno all take place across issues of various ongoing series, like the one-off crossovers of the 60s, albeit branded more explicitly this time. The Secret Wars 2 structure would be reused for Infinity Gauntlet and its sequels in the early 90s, although this came at the last minute, as Infinity Gauntlet was just meant to be a Silver Surfer storyline initially. Even with the change, only struggling or obviously relevant titles were given tie-ins. Infinity War and Infinity Crusade looked like modern crossovers, but then the format was effectively retired again until the very small Maximum Security crossover reused it in 2001. And that's the history of the modern Marvel crossover. Secret Wars 2 was first, but it wasn't very successful, so Marvel didn't really adopt it as the standard until the early 2000s, when the events that utilized it really reshaped the Marvel Universe. It cannot be understated how much of Marvel's output was affected by crossovers like House of M, Civil War, and Secret Invasion. But when these events weren't important, the all-encompassing format just wasn't successful. It's stuck around for now, though, and does not appear to be slowing down. In the meantime, thanks for watching.